Welcome to Guide Mia. Today we're going to talk about handling a changes requested rejection. Your case went out for approval, the doctor clicked request changes, and now it's back in your court wearing a rose-colored badge. This happens to every designer, and Cympha has a specific, tight loop for it. By the end you'll know how to spot a return case on your dashboard, how to read the doctor's feedback, which lives in completely different places for AlignerBot cases versus everything else, how to redesign against it, and how to resubmit cleanly. Budget about 6 minutes for the mechanics, plus however long the redesign itself takes. Follow along, or listen now and read the written guide later. First, the shape of the event. The doctor opened the review page, looked at your deliverable, and clicked request changes. The case status flips to changes requested immediately. The flip is server-side, so if you got the email but still see awaiting approval, just refresh. The email and the status are two views of the same event. Crucially, a return case keeps you as the holder. The system deliberately does not drop it back into a generic queue, it stays with the designer who built the deliverable, so the redesign loop is tight. And a word on morale, because the rose badge can feel like a black mark, it isn't. Round trips are the whole point of the approval gate, surfacing disagreements before manufacturing. A case that goes through one rejection round and then approves cleanly is healthier than one that approves on round 1 and gets remade 3 months later. 3 prerequisites. A case you previously sent for approval, now showing the rose changes requested badge. The Save and Request Approval lecture covers how it got there. The Cympha Agent Manager running in paired, and for AlignerBot cases this one is non-negotiable, because the doctor's revision file has to land in your workspace folder before OrthoPlus can consume it. No agent, no revision on disk. And the desktop tool. The case was originally designed in OrthoPlus, Implant Master, or Studio, because a redesign happens in the same environment as the design. If any of those pieces is missing, the earlier lectures in this series walk the setup, from pairing the agent to configuring the workspace folder. Finding the case takes seconds once you know the 3 places it surfaces. The fastest is My Assignments. The case never left your table, so open the status filter at the top right and pick Changes Requested. The list narrows to just the bouncebacks, each with the rose badge. Hover the badge and the description reads Customer Requested Changes, back to the designer. Second, your dashboard. The same case shows in your holder of summary when it's at the top of your queue. Third, your inbox. The customer side reject fires an email to you with the case link. Click through to the case detail. You'll see the Changes Requested badge and the Designer Actions panel restored, though note the Request Approval button is not back yet. It only reappears once the case returns to designing, and we'll use that fact deliberately at the resubmit step. How you read the feedback depends entirely on the category, so let's take the simple case first. For ortho, implant, and lab service cases, the doctor's note arrives as a chat message in the customer lab thread. Open the case chat from the case page and scroll to the latest message. It's the prose they wrote in the request changes dialog on the review page. Typically it's a description of what they want different, the midline 1 mm to the patient's right, a shorter buccal flange, sometimes with attachments, clinical photos, a marked up screenshot, a measurement table. For these categories you have free latitude. Interpret the prose, make the change, save back, and request approval again. It's a conversation between professionals, and the chat is the medium. AlignerBot is a different animal entirely, and that's the slide that matters most in this lecture. For AlignerBot and Clear Aligner AI cases, the request changes flow is deliberately stricter. The doctor cannot reject with words alone. The confirm button stays disabled until they attach one of 2 structured artifacts. The first is an XML tooth position file exported from Cympha Studio's 3-dimensional review. The doctor opens the plan in Studio, makes their adjustments in the 3-dimensional review themselves, exports the result as XML, and uploads it on the review page before they click Request Changes. The second is a replacement transfer pack built in OrthoPlus. Same idea, for a doctor who has OrthoPlus and would rather replan outright. Typing Move Tooth 16 buccally with no file attached leaves the confirm grayed out, and the dialog explains why. So when an aligner case bounces back, look in the Files panel for the new XML or GPK from the doctor's side. That file is the rejection. There's nothing useful to read in the chat. And if the chat somehow does contain free text instructions on an aligner case, do not apply them manually. The OrthoPlus Planner Cascade has no English parser. Pushing teeth by eyeball defeats the deterministic second round. Ping the doctor and ask for the structured file instead. The redesign. Open the case folder under your workspace, the same patient path as before, and the agent has already pulled the latest revision artifacts into it. For an AlignerBot case, open the case in OrthoPlus with the existing project file, load the doctor's new XML tooth position file, or open the replacement transfer pack as the new starting point. Let OrthoPlus rerun the appliance design against the refined setup, then save and export the regenerated transfer pack into the case folder. There's a dedicated deep dive on that refinement loop in the docs. For ortho, implant, and lab service cases it's simpler. Open the case in the relevant desktop tool, apply the changes the doctor described in chat, and save the new deliverable into the case folder, same as the original pass. Then remember the upload split. Review files and zips go up automatically. Most other types, including the transfer pack, wait for your upload click, and a transfer pack arriving on a changes requested aligner case fires the appliance approval by itself. Resubmitting is the same move as round 1. Refresh the case detail and verify the new file actually shows in the Files panel, never re-request on faith. Then click Request Approval. If the button is hidden, remember the rule from earlier, it only renders while the case is in designing, and changes requested is not designing. As the holder, use the status select to move the case back to designing first, and the button reappears. The click fires the same request approval flow as the first time. The case re-enters awaiting approval with the appropriate plan, appliance, or design pending label. The activity log gets a fresh approval requested event, and the doctor receives the approval email again. End state, status awaiting approval, holder is the customer, and you wait for their response, usually a shorter wait than round 1. Where does the loop end? Usually right here. Most rejections clear on the second pass, and AlignerBot rejections that arrived as a clean XML or GPK overlay almost always do, because the doctor literally handcrafted the refinement you just applied. The case moves to approved, and digital delivery takes over. If they reject again, the same loop repeats. A new chat note, or a new structured file, explains why. There's no hard limit on rejection rounds, but there is a practical one. If you're on round 3, bring in your lab manager and have them sanity check the brief, because at that point the problem is usually the brief, not the design. And if the doctor escalates instead of rejecting, the case flips to escalated and the holder transfers to the lab manager, who triages, usually a quick reassignment back to you with extra context. 4 snags. The request approval button is missing on a changes requested case. That's the status rule, not a bug. Move the case back to designing and it reappears. The doctor's XML isn't in your workspace. Check the downloaded from cloud pane in the cloud monitoring panel, which lists what came down this session. 1 gotcha. If a previously downloaded copy was deleted locally, the agent won't re-download it. Reset sync state in the cloud monitoring menu is the escape hatch, or just download the file from the case's files panel in the browser. An aligner case bounced with chat-only instructions and no file. The gate on the review page should make that impossible, but it can slip through an older client version, for instance. If it does, ping the doctor in chat and ask them to reopen the case's approval page and resubmit request changes with the XML overlay or a replacement GPK attached. Never interpret the pros by hand. The file formats reference in the docs has a section on aligner revision artifacts that spells out why. And if you think the doctor is simply wrong, there's no designer pushback status in the case chat, shared with the lab manager and the doctor, is the mechanism. At an impasse, bring your lab manager into the discussion. That's the rejection loop. Spot the rose badge, read the feedback where it actually lives, the chat for most categories, the structured file for aligners, redesign against it, and resubmit through the same approval flow as round 1. Run it a few times and it stops feeling like a setback and starts feeling like what it is, the quality gate doing its job. The companion lectures complete the circle. Save and request approval for the submission mechanics, and approve or reject a design for what the doctor sees on their side of this exact exchange. The written walkthrough, including the file formats reference for aligner revision artifacts, is at cympha.com. Open the docs section and find handle a changes requested rejection. If you want the whole series, subscribe. We're walking through every Cympha workflow, one lecture at a time. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.